Welcome in. If you're watching, I appreciate you. I just wanted to make one big video here, just kind of lay it out, the whole thing for the year, and pretty much just take the year off. So here's how I see things. With Trump pulling a Grover Cleveland, it seems they want to make Cleveland very hot. Basically, the Guardians were just on. They got the championship series, one series away from the World Series, just like the Lions were last year in the NFC Championship game. We think the Lions are making all the way this year. So, they both avoided getting a curse on them. Neither made it all the way to the big dance and then lost like the Yankees or the Niners did. So they're in good shape for next year. So we think next year, well, I'll just do it in order, right? So coming up first, Stipe Miocic, Cleveland firefighter. We got knocking out Jon Jones and winning the UFC heavyweight championship. Okay, then in football, we got Cleveland making a massive run, coming back from 2-7, basically the depths of hell, and making a Detroit Tigers-esque run. Tigers had a 1 in 500 chance. I nailed it. Yeah, they did make the playoffs. Thank you very much. We're predicting the Browns to essentially do the same thing. And when the Browns get in the playoffs, they're going to make it all the way to the Super Bowl, lose to the Lions. Okay, so Detroit gets a little bit of revenge for the Tigers series, and they get ultimately the last laugh, right? Like they win the Super Bowl, the biggest one. But Cleveland gets an argument for being a much better sports team out of this exchange, right? So Detroit wins the Super Bowl, and Cleveland comes away almost looking like they're big, huge losers until the very end. They get bailed out, right? So they just choked in MLB. They're about to lose the Super Bowl. They do win the UFC Heavyweight Championship, I think. That's the one I'm the least sure of. That's mostly off gut instinct. I think Jon Jones is basically going to get P. Diddy'd, and there's going to be like some big scandal about him after he gets knocked out. He's been doing something terrible forever and actually does time, right? So that's what I see happening there. Now, then NBA playoffs and NHL are happening around the same time. I've got the Blue Jackets making some sort of miracle run, but I really don't know what they do. They've only won one playoff series in the history of their team, but Johnny Hockey just died. And I think they surprise people. So, if there's a way to win two, I don't know that much about hockey, but there's a way to win two playoff series and still not make the Stanley Cup, I like them there. I guess that would be like the Eastern Conference Finals most likely. Like I said, I don't really know the structure all that much, but I like them in that spot. I don't have any predictions for who's winning the cup. I can't say I highly doubt it's them, but they're just really, really long shot. But the Florida Panthers just won last year. The Blue Jackets are my pick, but that's down there almost slightly above Miocic, right? There's strong reason to believe as far as storyline that the Blue Jackets could do something really special, but I would bet the farm on it, right? That's what I'd be least sure about besides the Miocic thing, right? Browns losing to Lions is a lock. This next one I feel really, really good about. I got the Lakers winning the championship, obviously led by LeBron, and I think the Eastern Conference Finals is Cavaliers versus Celtics, and I actually think the Cavs win and then get stomped by the Lakers. Not even that close, 5 games, something like that. LeBron's kind of been antagonizing Cleveland fans with the Deshaun Watson booing, that sort of stuff. So I could see that angle for sure. So basically, seems like Cleveland's worst nightmare at that point. They strike out in baseball, even though they beat the Tigers, and they lose to the Lions. They lose to LA right after watching the Dodgers win the World Series. Then the Blue Jackets lose in some fashion, right? I have no idea what happens, but they make a really good run, and it's inspiring, but they ultimately don't get it done, right? But then Cleveland finally gets bailed out in next year's World Series. I got the Guardians winning for sure, almost certainly beating the Tigers in the American League Championship, most likely running it back against the Yankees the series before that. Just kind of a flip of this year, right? Yankees first, then the Tigers, and the Tigers series is incredible, right? And then on the other side of things, I think it's for sure Dodgers versus the Cincinnati Reds. The Cincinnati Reds picked up Terry Francona, the Hall of Fame manager, from the Guardians. They also, Pete Rose just passed away, right? And they won in 1976. It's been 76 years since the Guardians won the World Series. The player they traded to start the curse, he wore numbers 7 and 6, was named most popular personality in Cleveland sports in 1976. And the Dodgers, the reason I like them, they lost to the Indians in 1920 as the Brooklyn Robins, and they have a giant cursed 76 oil sign on top of their scoreboard, right? So it'd be nice for Cleveland to win it in LA with that big 76 there for the 76 season drought, because there was no World Series in 94-95 because of the strike, right? That's why it wasn't this past year. It's going to be this upcoming year. If you look at MLB.com, it tells you it's currently sitting at a 75-year drought. So that'll change next year. It'll go to 76. And they'll get it done there. Like I said, either over the Indians or the Dodgers. I prefer the Dodgers, but I mean over the Reds or the Dodgers. I definitely like the Dodgers getting the National League Championship Series. So, but moving on, let's get all the crazy coincidences, all the reasons we think. Like I said, I touched on it a little bit. But let's deep dive into Lions Browns. I know you think I'm smoking crack, right? So here's all but not really all the reasons. I got way more than this, but this is kind of just what I felt like spitting out here when I wasn't able to upload something. Who knows if this will get uploaded? Maybe we'll get lucky. Most of my stuff gets deleted anyways, copyright strikes, etc. Right? I think I'm down to like 4 or 5 videos yet. It's literally insane. Super Bowl 59 script. Detroit Lions defeat Cleveland Browns, of course. Starting QBs Hendon H. Don't want to say the last name on YouTube. You may Google him, Hendo Cinco of Tennessee fame, and Bailey Zappi for the Browns. Said, for reference, the Bears have 9 championships. Not one of them contain a 5 in the championship year. However, all 4 Lions championship years happen to contain a 5. 1935, 1952, 1953, and 1957. 1935 and 1953 are obviously an inverse of each other. If you flip the other two, 1952 and 57, you get 25 and 75. 2025 and 2075 have a 50-year gap, just like the Lions Hall of Fame QB Bobby Lane predicted for his curse when he was infamously traded to the bottom-dwelling Steelers. Coincidentally, manager who cursed Guardians is named Frank Lane, and their current star is named Thomas Lane. Next, Lions, also fireman coincidence. So Stipe Miocic is a fireman from Ohio. The Guardians closer is nicknamed Fireman. Next Lions curse will be attributed to Goff getting traded in offseason to Cardinals. Cardinals are the most cursed franchise in all sports. They also have a 76-year drought. Goff has Sports Illustrated curse and Super Bowl losing QB curse. Hendon will start at QB in the Super Bowl. Cleveland needs a dome. They're threatening to move out of Cleveland if taxpayers don't foot the bill. Browns are currently suing Cleveland. At same time, plans for dome in Cleveland leaked. Not gonna lie, looks incredible. It really does. It's gorgeous. It's like right on the lake and everything. I would definitely be sweating that if I was a Browns fan, not wanting them to move to Brook Park. Cleveland just filmed the latest Superman movie. Superman was created in Cleveland 86 years ago. Tigers won 1968 World Series. Tigers and Cleveland faced off in playoffs for first time ever this season, with Cleveland advancing in dramatic fashion. Tigers' odds to make playoffs were 1 in 500, yet I managed to assume they'd make the postseason without being proven the full. Isn't that incredible? I was literally calling my buddy like every day, like, Tigers will make playoffs, Tigers will make playoffs. He's like, I don't care. Lions beat Browns 68 years ago in 1957. In the Superman movie, he drives a 1957 Imperial. Browns lost AFC Championship in 1986. Legendary Browns tailback Dub Jones just passed away in war number 86 and retired in 1968. What do you know? Browns star tight ends are both starter tight ends for Lions and Browns wear or have worn 86, David Njoku in college, and Sam Laporta currently. Barry Sanders was on cover of Madden 25 10 years ago. Only Madden title named out of sequence. He wears number 20 as seen on the cover, which makes it look and read as 2025. What do you know? This year, Barry Sanders did not partner with Madden for the first time ever. Barry Sanders Jr. just started school at Michigan State. But yeah, isn't that odd? Right? He's on 25. Then, well, you know, Madden 25 rolls around. Oh, I'm not going to do this one. I'm too good for Madden now. Oh, what happened, Barry? That's weird. Hendon and Barry both had heart scares. Oh no, hope they're okay. Michigan just won national championship. Then head coach was banned from the NCAA, and then Tad, to his Ohio dominance, happens to beat the Browns this past week, preventing them from beating Harbaugh's in back-to-back weeks. I'm sure that's something that will never happen. Most likely, Chiefs held draft last year and won. Detroit hosted the draft this year. Whoa! Recently drafted Hendon at pick number 68. Longest tenured Lions player wears number 68. Detroit recently drafted Michigan player number 2 overall. Detroit spoiled Chiefs banner-raising ceremony last year, and Hendon beat them in preseason. The dramatic, awesome, epic comeback. Same with that spoiled Chiefs banner-raising ceremony. Epic comeback, thriller, like absolutely bananas. Browns were cheated by Chiefs out of AFC Championship when Chad Henne played. So basically, the Browns were at the 1-yard line diving for the pylon, targeting to the helmet by a Chiefs player, not called, fumbles out of the back of the end zone for a touchdown. Browns completely hosed on terrible no call combined with worst rule in all of sports, right? So really bad luck for the Browns there. Hendon's dad was NC&T, North Carolina, Hall of Fame QB. His best season was 1986. Uncle played on the same team. Brother is starting QB right now. Manager who called Hendon on draft night played for NCA&T. Voice of Cleveland, Jim Donovan, stepped away as Browns commentator to battle cancer at age 68. Passes away weeks later, right before Browns beat Ravens. No surprise to me, of course. He got his big break in 1986. Phil Donahue is from Cleveland, recently passed. He was born in 1935, the year the Lions won their first championship. First appeared on TV in 1957, which was the Lions' most recent championship. So if Phil Donahue's on TV, Lions don't win. He died. Yay! Matthew Stafford trade ended curse because he was sent to LA to win a Super Bowl, right? So went to the same high school, grew up on the same street as Bobby Lane, won state championship same year. Goff has no career marquee wins. Hendon smacked heavy hitters, Alabama, Georgia, all those sort of types, in thrillers with big time throws, literally games like 52-49, winning with his arm. He's the man. Goff has Super Bowl losers curse. Last 17 quarterbacks to lose. First Super Bowl haven't won. I'm pretty sure on that number. It might have grown or whatever. I'm not sure. Grew up a Montana fan. Beaten by beloved Niners by Mr. Irrelevant last pick in the draft, despite beating number 1 overall pick. If you'll remember, Carson Wentz was drafted 1 pick after him, got injured, and Foles came in to win it. What do you know? Same draft. Has tiny hands, wears capris, and can't eat red meat. Doesn't understand Detroit media or culture. Yeah, that's a loser. QB drafted immediately after him. Yeah, we already did that. Harvey P. Carr's wife passed away. Oh, yeah, and of course, when Wentz was injured, of course, was against the Rams, right, where Goff was playing. And then Drew Carey's wife's murderer was brought to justice. Drew Carey show streaming for first time ever, and it's free. Cleveland rocks, y'all. Freaks and Geeks reboot, most likely impending. That's speculation on my part, but let's keep it real. Based in Detroit, Detroit High School. Very easy to age the characters up. Would be the biggest show on television. All that sort of stuff. Kiss played their last show ever in Detroit last year. Most likely, it was the headline. They will perform Detroit Rock City one more time after the Lions win. In New Beverly Hills Cop, Eddie Murphy wears the Lions jacket. Jerry Seinfeld Pop-Tart movie based in Michigan streaming on Netflix. Detroiter series now streaming on Netflix. Brown strategy expert is Jonah Hill's character from Moneyball, DePodesta. Detroit also built Barry Sanders statue. Bailey Zapp, drafted by Bill Belichick, former Browns coach who started QB curse. Let that one sink in. Zapp had same college coach as Mahomes. When Watson got injured, the Browns poached him off none other than the Chiefs practice squad, where he was backing up you-know-who. College coach who mentored Mahomes. And Zappy now works for Texas Tech, same school that held the records that Bailey Zapp broke. Whoa! First career starts were wins against Lions. Nice. Then Bailey went on to defeat Cleveland. No way. Very next week. What a crazy world. Lots of coincidences always. Also had primetime wins against Steelers and Denver. Nice. We need QB to beat those teams this year. You cannot lose to Denver, and you need to beat the Steelers once. Need him to start ASAP. He's going to start most likely the first game after the first Steelers matchup. Zappe had greatest college season in FBS history, 62 TDs in one season and 6,000 yards. Hasn't been in league long enough to develop bad habits. Finsky can coach out of him, unlike Winston and Watson. Also, if you just take one glance at Bailey Zappe versus Jameis Winston, Deshaun Watson, and DTR, Dorian Thomas Robinson, you will instantly notice something about him. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's very obvious to the eye what is difference between Bailey Zappe and those other three quarterbacks mentioned, right? Shouldn't take you too long to figure that one out and why he might be a little marketable for Cleveland. Let's see. Especially when you remember this is a team that's got fond memories of Bernie Kosar, right? So just think about it a little bit. Let's see. Jameis obviously starts against the Saints and wins. They love to do that stupid beat your old team thing. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Bailey Zappe's white helmets and uniforms at Houston Baptist looked almost identical to Browns helmets and unis. Hold on, I gotta literally just show you all this one. Hold on. Oh, sorry. Boom, look at this. Oh, my. Oh, my. You serious? Look at the orange stripe. Oh, man, shoulder, down the helmet, orange. Good stuff. Real good stuff. Okay, hope you didn't see that number. Let's see. Where were we? Let's get back to it. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Oh, yeah, he wore number 4 just like Deshaun Watson as well. Believe the eventual narrative will be Chiefs' fatal mistake is keeping Carson Wentz and allowing Browns to find their savior. Check out Michigan State's quarterback, Jack Carson Wentz, if you haven't heard of him. Just like our fake history narratives, we get lots of inside jokes, player names. Yeah, Carson Wentz, Jack Carson Wentz. Like, come on. Literally says Carson Wentz on the back of his jersey. Also need Malik H. from Cowboys to fix blown assignments. The Browns picked up some scrub in free agency at safety. He's trash. They need to replace him with Malik, who went to Ohio State. Malik and Rodney McLeod will be elite safety tandem. I believe only Browns lost the rest of the way. His first meeting against Steelers. Browns end up with Broncos spot via tiebreaker at 9:08. Let's see. This is, let's see. Okay, here we go. There's a lot of weird connections with the Garretts, like Jason Garrett's from Ohio. Myles Garrett plays for Cleveland. Garrett Wilson went to Ohio State. Guardians have Amir Garrett and Garrett Crochet. So after Hulk Hogan appeared on at the Republican National Convention for Trumpomania, he went to Detroit to cut the Campbellmania promo, brother. First time ownership was ever passed from woman to woman was for Mrs. Firestone Ford, Sheila to Martha. Browns have a woman coach. Lions play at Ford Field. Ford hasn't ran Super Bowl ad for 3 years. Dan Campbell cannot pronounce the word forward. He says, we don't back down, we drive forward, and drives a F-350. Assistant coach on Lions said Dad has a heart attack in a Ford Mercury and drove himself to the hospital. Josh Gordon says he's willing to sign if Browns call. Very recently retired. He was playing professional football this year at a high level. Ohio recently legalized, so his recreational habits won't be an issue. He's only 33 years old with very low wear and tear on his body. Also happens to be the best Browns player this millennium. Let's see. Late Jim Brown's rookie season was 1957, 68 years ago. Browns could trade. Nah, I don't believe in that anymore. Not with the way they ended up winning more games since then. So the Bosa thing's off the market. I still like getting Malik from the Cowboys, especially since they lost. Ohio had a train chemical explosion derailment thing predicted by Netflix. Remember that? So the last 6 weeks of the season stars the AFC North on Hard Knocks. I believe all 4 AFC North teams will make playoffs first time ever, despite obviously the terrible starts, leaving no wild card spots for anyone else. Chiefs, Bills, Texans will win their division to round out the field. So there we go. As far as like reason to believe, so in 2004, I believe the Red Sox were going to win the World Series. So I noticed, hey, it's been 86 years since they made it. Last time they made it was 1986. They did win that World Series. They went on to win several more, including the 2018 World Series, which landed on the 100th year anniversary of the Babe Ruth curse. They decided to celebrate that win by immediately trading star player Mookie Betts to the Dodgers. Sounds like a smart move, right? Who goes on to win the World Series, then won another one this year, okay? Mookie Wilson hit the ball. So yeah, Mookie Betts wins 2 World Series after winning one for the Red Sox. And gets traded, right? Mookie Wilson in 86 hit the ball between Buckner's legs, right? Very obviously a curse ball everybody's seen. I predict Red Sox lose in 2068, and they will be cursed until they win in 2086, which will just happen to be 68 years from their most recent win, which, like I mentioned, was the 100th anniversary of the last curse. There is also a book available to buy. I do own it. That just happens to be called Red Sox 2086. Crazy world, right? Yeah, who knows? I didn't write it, but I do own it. Let's see. Haven't read it yet. Let's see. Mookie. And we already got all that. So, there's a lot of stuff I wanted to go more into detail here. Obviously, as you can tell, we really didn't expand too deep on, like, any one thing. Oh, yeah. I really just want to talk about Hendon a little bit. He's probably my... I mean, I haven't followed him too much since the preseason, but I mean, I was obsessed with this dude in the offseason leading up. I was just looking up every single thing about him. I think he's the most fascinating character of the bunch, right? And like, so Teddy Bridgewater, like obviously Bridge QB, Goss was known as a Bridge QB when he came in. Like Teddy Bridgewater was considered the most unluckiest quarterback of all time, and he retired on St. Theodore's Day. What do you know? Right after, or like right around the Super Bowl. Now, after the Lions lost, of course. And then in the offseason, he mentored Hendon, who was living at his home. Hendon went to Tennessee and got to learn under Peyton Manning, Archie Manning, and Eli Manning, while absolutely lighting the college world on fire with his offense. His offense was so phenomenal at Tennessee that Kevin Stefanski of the Browns went to the owner, who is a Tennessee alum, coincidence, right, and said that he wanted to model his entire offense around what Hendon is doing at Tennessee. Now, to me, the unspoken, thing is that, like, oh, well, they probably wanted to draft him, and they actually have an excuse for not doing it. Those are one of the weird years where the Browns didn't have a pick until the 3rd round, and they drafted about 15 to 20 spots after the Lions did. So even though he fell, the Browns are one of the few teams that actually had a reasonable excuse for not taking him. They didn't technically pass on him, they just didn't have the resources and didn't make a trade to get him. So, as far as, they look at the guy the Lions happened to steal in the draft, and they say they want to base their whole offense around it, all that sort of stuff. I still think, Aiden O'Connell could possibly get claimed off waivers weeks down the line after he's recovered from his injury if the Raiders just like basically flat out cut him and play in the Super Bowl after like everyone else in the world gets injured. I really think that's how it's going down for the Browns this year. That's how it went down in 57. Tommy O'Connell came in because there was a rash of injuries, all that sort of stuff. So I could definitely see every quarterback on the Browns roster getting injured in that game, essentially. As hilarious and depressing as that would be. The Browns are going to go in smoking hot, and the Lions are going to go in the Super Bowl without Jared Goff. So the Browns are going to be favored in the Super Bowl. This is going a little long. I've got a billion more things to add, but basically if this didn't do it for you, you're on your own. You got to know nobody's working harder than me. You can call me crazy. You can say I'm an idiot. Say everything I say is wrong. You can't say anybody else is working harder. I mean, look at this. Come on. You couldn't make this up. That's what people always say is confirmation bias, all sort of stuff. Okay, well, if it is, you couldn't do it. Like, I didn't just think, well, what's the craziest thing I could think of? No, I tried to figure out what they're doing. This is what I believe. So, I'm right or I'm wrong. We'll find out.